And then he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills.
I can't catch a break, guys.
Yeah.
Get them the fuck away from me. I can't be around those guys.
People think, oh, well, cleaning your room, that's just a cliche. It's like, yeah, really, eh? Just go ahead and try it.
If people had any idea how powerful sleep is for healing from anything, and the fact that it's free.
My mind is absolutely bulletproof, solid as a rock.
Podcast.
Yep.
Hey Brandon.
Hello.
Welcome to today's podcast. So today we're going to be talking about your journey as a coach. And the first question off the bat is not on the questionnaire. It is, how long have you been a coach?
I've been a coach coming up 9 years now.
9 years. That means when did you start? 2015?
2014, late 2014, early 2015, I think.
And what was it that inspired you to become a coach?
Well, it was mainly just the fact that I needed a job, to be fair, and fitness and exercise was pretty much the only skill that I had at the time. And obviously it was something I was quite passionate about. I boxed for many, many years. And I also was quite good at making people feel welcome. So the job that I was given initially was just kind of greeting people, taking them in and making them feel comfortable and getting them warmed up and that kind of crack. And honestly, I really just fell in love with helping people. And when they made progress, it really made me feel like I was making positive steps forward. And then I started building a career slowly but surely.
And what was it that kind of got you passionate about helping?
I think one of the big things that got me passionate was once I started seeing people who, in my opinion, didn't really have much going for them in terms of health and fitness start to change and develop and become something that was, a formidable force in the gym. Like I started realizing like this is actually a very powerful career. Like we can really help people make substantial changes in their life and I get to be a part of that.
And how, has it impacted your own personal journey? I don't know, how is health and fitness?
One of the biggest things that really made a positive impact on me was seeing people like that, people who were absolute beginners making positive progress, really let me know that, this is something that can happen to anybody, that people can really go through massive change because I had a fixed mindset even at the time of becoming a coach, and seeing people go through growth really had a positive impact on me because I said, oh, okay, well, I know where you came from. I know where you started from because I was a part of it. And when people like that started to make serious progress, then that really got me bought in for, shit, I want to do this as well.
And what is your philosophy when it comes to kind of being a personal trainer, being a coach? What is your philosophy? What do you feel like are the key things that you try and get across to your clients?
So one of the first things that I find that people do that they make the biggest mistake in when they start is that they start too quick. So my biggest advice is start slow, but be consistent as fuck. All right. Like you really have to be consistent. An awful lot of people like that mentality because of the starting slow bit and going slow. But the hard part is the consistent part. If you can go slow, well, then you can start to notice where you're making all your mistakes. And if you can be consistent, that's where you're going to build real momentum. All right. And after that, then some of the biggest bits of advice that I would have is that you have to challenge yourself. You have to get outside your comfort zone and you really have to start from scratch. And so starting from a place that you feel like an absolute beginner, that's how you know that you're where you need to be. And then the last thing that I would say with that is that in order to be successful, you have to be a student. And so you really have to learn the field that you're in. So if it's fitness, if it's fat loss, it's like you have to study this. You have to make it your craft. You have to make it a priority and you have to dig deep into it.
What do you feel like the most valuable actions are that somebody can take to be successful when they're starting off on the journey?
Well, it depends what their goal is. Like one of the biggest things is obviously like it's all relative. So it all depends on what your goal is. If your goal is fat loss, let's say most people start off wanting to lose a couple of pounds. The biggest thing is how active are you? And so an awful lot of people have desk jobs. And if you have a desk job, you're really going to struggle. So you really have to focus on getting your steps. And so, 10,000 is the absolute minimum. Do your best to go above and beyond, get a skipping rope, do whatever you need to do to get your steps up. And then after that, MyFitnessPal and a set of food scales are going to be one of the best educations you could get into nutrition about understanding what is in the foods that you like and start actually managing and budgeting your calories properly. It's one of the things that many people don't do, but it would massively impact the results. You have to manage what's going in. If you want to build muscle, obviously you got to, back to my philosophy of going slow, it's like you got to build a wide base. You got to start focusing on high reps, good positioning, and hitting your protein, and then obviously you can have a little more fun with your calories if you're trying to build muscle.
And can you share a specific success success story of a client that made you particularly proud or particularly inspired you?
One of the biggest success stories that we would have is Pete, the cameraman, be editing this right now, probably with a big blush on his face. And obviously, like a massive success story that we've had is, somebody coming in who couldn't do much at all. Like, I mean, let alone in terms of health and fitness, like really hadn't got an awful lot going for him physically because he was starting to break down, getting up and down, just getting in and out of work would have been a challenge for him at the time. And I started feeding him advice of, again, this slow and steady approach. Just start getting the little things right, really start, be satisfied with £1 a week. Believe in yourself that you can do this, that change is possible. And I mean, it's a credit to himself, not really myself, because I preach that message to so many people and it's very rare for you to actually take it on. And I mean, that man has come on to be one of the strongest, fittest members that we've had. And he's still progressing on with his weight loss to this day. And he's down an exorbitant amount of weight. Pete, how much weight are you down? 40 kilos. So over 80 pounds, nearly 90 pounds of weight loss. I mean, it's absolutely sensational.
And what do you feel like, what is the hardest part of being a personal trainer? What are the biggest obstacles and how do you?
One of the hardest part of being a coach is watching people who don't want to take the message show up every day and eddy around in circles, because it really is frustrating, because you start to care about people. Like, I really care about, any client who I start to spend any kind of decent amount of time to. Like, we build relationships here. That's kind of what the game is. And when you start seeing somebody who's getting frustrated and hitting the same mistakes again and again, and as I said, it's like, how you get somebody to change bad habits and break away from addictions and heal their trauma and do the deep work. It's like, it's not an easy process, and not everybody wants to take it on, and not everybody is invested enough to take it on, and not everybody's in that spot of their life where they're ready to take it on. And just kind of seeing somebody just hit their head against the wall again and again and struggle, and just, we get quite personal with people. And so watching somebody just struggle in their day-to-day personal life, I mean, it's very frustrating for me as a coach, because I want to help them, but obviously, like, this is a game where you can only help yourself.
How do you keep yourself motivated and inspired to continue learning and growing as a coach, and how important do you think personal development is?
I think you answered your own question there, because I mean, the big focus is like, it's about learning and growing. And so again, I am a student. Like, I am constantly trying to learn, and so anytime I learn a new principle or a new idea or read a new book or listen to a new podcast or find a new inspiring person who inspires me, starting to then put those principles into practice, it's like, that's constantly motivating, because progress is motivation. And so I'm forever challenging myself and looking for something new, something fresh, a new exercise modality, whether it's yoga or Pilates, or if it's weight training or powerlifting, or if it's trying to get my nutrition on track, if it's trying to get faster when you're running, if it's trying to improve your body composition. There's so much that you could be doing and improving upon. And when something gets boring, you can always move on to something else. I suppose, like, in terms of fitness, the level methods is a massive part of that, and massive part of what we do. And that massively motivated me, because for the longest time, what I was doing was, I was just trying to get better across metrics that I felt myself are important. And the level method has obviously given that an awful lot of structure, and definitely helped keep me motivated in the last 3 years and give me a lot of drive and push. And I'm massively competitive, so helping or trying to keep up and compete with Chris is definitely something that I'm trying to do, and keeps me motivated and keeps me pushing.
In terms of like personalization and customization for clients, like, how do you feel like you adjust your coaching style based on the different types of?
With me, the clients get the coach that they need, not the coach that they want. And so obviously, some people get an arm around their shoulder, some people get a stiff kick in the arse, and sometimes the same person will get a different thing depending on what I feel like they need each day. It really is by feel, and obviously by the book. Some people just need to hammer down on the process. Some people, as I said, need to do the deep work. Some people need to start focusing on breaking bad habits. And so it really is day by day, case by case basis, because people are changing, people are going through different seasons of their life. So you have to be adaptable in order to give people what they need on that day, because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And so constant communication, building the relationship, and figuring out actively what this person needs and where they're at their life and what's important to them right now is a constant challenge, and it's a constant effort, and it's what we do every day. It's why we have to reach out and chat to people and text message nearly every single day. You have to make your coaching approach different day to day. It's not always going to be the same, and the day that you just kind of start flogging out that generalized approach is the day that you're not paying attention.
Like, how important do you think nutrition is, and how do you coach people on nutrition? How do you incorporate that into your?
I feel like nutrition is massively important. Obviously, like, it is the fuel. And so if you're overweight, one of the biggest issues is that you're taking in too many calories. But the biggest thing that's needed in order to be successful is just consistency. And so you don't need to overhaul your diet altogether. And I feel like that's the biggest mistake that beginners make, is they try and change everything all at once. And instead of just kind of going, right, well, all we need here is about 4 or 5 different things done right consistently. One, are you tracking what you're eating? So let's not even stress too much about the specifics of what you're eating for beginners, for talk's sake. It's like, let's just get you tracking. After that, then we're going to start looking for the wins. Like, what are you doing well? And so let's try and do that a little bit regularly. You have protein for breakfast, lunch, and maybe your dinner is a little bit disorganized, but let's start trying to incorporate a more structured routine. And then we'll hammer out a diet plan, both of us together. We'll work out what do you like, what do you not like, and then we'll try and run that for another week, and we'll see how consistent you can be with the plan that you've put onto paper. And then I'll give advice like, oh, you're missing some fiber, you're missing some fruit, you're missing some protein, whatever it is. And so again, it's just this constant building upon process, as opposed to trying to everything that you're doing right now is wrong, let's just tear that down. It's like, look, you're already probably getting an awful lot of it right when you are trying your best. Let's just try and do a little bit less of the bad, and let's just try and do a little bit more of the good.
And what do you believe are the most important qualities for a personal trainer or coach to possess?
The most important quality that a coach has to possess is that they have to live the lifestyle. If you're not living it, well, then you're not going to be able to give good quality advice to your clients. And then the next one is you have to listen to your clients. You have to, when they're talking, you have to genuinely understand where they're coming from, so you can give them the advice that's relevant for them. And so if you're not a good listener, you're not going to make a good coach. And then lastly, you have to be empathetic and understand. And also, and something that I've really, really struggled with as a coach, is like, you have to be able to put your foot down, because these people really don't need just another best friend. They don't need somebody who's going to tell them what they want to hear. Sometimes they're going to need somebody who's willing to confront them a little bit on the bullshit stories, because a big issue that I've had with an awful lot of clients is that they've been gaslit by other people and by the gym culture into thinking that, it's like weight loss isn't possible for them. And so they think that, it's like, oh, Margaret can't lose weight even though she's sticking to her calories. Like, Margaret's not sticking to her calories, all right? And so it's my job to be the person who says, no, you're not tracking your numbers right. You're not on the ball. Things are not lining up as you are. I'm not going to let you feed yourself a bullshit story even though everybody else is. And that's the hard part of the job, is growing that thick skin to get to be the bad guy. So don't be afraid to be the bad guy, coaches.
Can you tell us about the time that you had a difficult client, and how did you manage to turn the situation around?
Again, kind of back to a similar point, one of the biggest issues that I have with clients is clients that lie to themselves and therefore lie to me. But I didn't realize that they were lying to themselves first of all. It's like, and so for me, when I was a younger coach and I didn't realize that this stuff was as cut and dry as it is, and obviously that there's some obviously massive lifestyle factors that are going to affect why they can't put it into practice. But at the end of the day, people need to have somebody who's going to go through the whole program with them in detail. And so it's kind of like, right, let's go through your nutrition. Let's go through what's happening at home. Let's go through your day-to-day routine. Let's get a whole understanding of what's going on, and doing that from a place. And again, starting to make that person your friend and not judging them or criticizing them for the first 2-3 months, really just letting them run their process out again and again and again, to the point where they kind of feel like they've had it their way. And then you can kind of go, okay, well, look, we've done things as you've said we've done it for the last 3 months. We know that it's possible. All right, we know that it's possible. We'll give you your results guaranteed, your money back. We'll give you your money back. But the big issue is now, I need you to show me every single number, every single figure. And 9 times out of 10, things end up working well. And a big process that I use that's super effective for that is photos of every single meal. And once people kind of start being more accountable, they get better results, and they go from a quote unquote bad client or a difficult client to somebody who's getting results. The biggest issue is that once people kind of start drifting away in terms of accountability, that's when I would start kind of label them, a bad client. And a bad client is just somebody who doesn't get results. It's like, there are no bad kids, there are no bad people, there are just bad results.
How do you balance your work and personal life given the demanding nature of your profession?
I mean, sometimes I do. Like, sometimes I find it hard to kind of shut the phone off at the end of the day. And, obviously a small part of this job is creating content and stuff like that. And sometimes you might have to edit it after hours. And, sometimes there's clients that you want to text after hours just to check in. and see if they're okay. And sometimes that cuts in with the family life. But something that I've done, especially after having young kids, I feel like it used to bleed in a lot more to my personal life, and I didn't really mind as much when I didn't have young kids. But now I just draw a line in the sand. And I say, past 5 p.m. I'm done. And so, 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. is a pretty reasonable window of time to allot to your job. And after that, then you just kind of have to live your life and enjoy your life. But no, it's generally not too hard to separate my work-life balance, because work is work and home is home, and I don't really mix the two anymore.
What advice would you give to somebody just starting out into personal training?
Read. You got to learn to read. All right, if you can't read or you don't read, you got to start reading. There is so many amazing books out there. In fact, I'll recommend a few. How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's how you deal with your clients. All right, you understand where they're coming from, and you use the skills that are in that book as to your guide on how to deal with difficult clients or hard clients, or even just win people over and keep clients long term. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's how you deal with yourself. And so an absolutely amazing book. The Power of Habit. How the mind works, how your mind works, how your coaches or your clients' minds work. An absolutely incredible book. And then if you're looking to go next level with your movement mechanics, if people keep getting injured in your practice, and that's something that makes you very, very nervous, How to Become or Becoming a Supple Leopard by Kelly Starrett is my movement manual, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody who is trying to get into this game and really wants to separate themselves from all the other PTs, because most PTs understand movement at a base layer, and to go layers and layers deep basically gives you an advantage, because clients are going to recognize that next level of understanding that you have, especially if you get a client who's a physiotherapist or a client who's an advanced athlete. You're really going to understand what they need, and if they know and you don't know, they're going to know that you don't know, and you're going to feel like a fraud, and they're going to know that you're a fraud in that regard. And so overcoming that imposter syndrome can be done by educating yourself and genuinely knowing. And then the other side of it as well, and probably one of the most important parts, is you're going to feel like an imposter for the longest of time. Keep doing the work anyway. It's going to take you 4 or 5 or 6 years before you really feel like you're coming to grips with it. But that's going to be the case with most jobs. So if you're 18 or 19, have a great attitude, study hard, care about your clients, and you won't be long building up a base.
What do you think sets your gym apart from others in the area, and how do you ensure that clients have a great experience?
So we offer all the benefits of a personal trainer at the fraction of the cost. And so again, what separates us from gyms is that higher level of service, that higher level of accountability, that one-on-one approach, the fact that you actually get to engage with your coach on a day-to-day and a week-to-week basis, depending on what you need, the fact that you'll get a personalized meal plan, and you'll get updates, and can ask questions very, very frequently, the fact that we have the level method, and that every workout that we have is leveled. So it basically means that you can have somebody who's a brand new first day in the gym and somebody who's been training for the last 20 years in the same session, and both of those people are getting exactly what they need from the session. And as well as that, we have a great atmosphere. It's a community. There's people who they're going to know over time, who are going to be in the same classes over time. The coach is going to know them, and you're going to build that relationship.
How do you incorporate technology in your training programs, and what benefits do you see in doing so?
I feel like it really helps people in terms of tracking their calories. Obviously, we've got the Level Method app, which helps them apply progressive overload to their own training, and it gives them an understanding and makes it fun and novel for those clients. It also helps me as a coach. Like, for example, I have every client's profile on my phone, and so I can walk around every single session and have a look at their profile with them there, have a chat about them, and most importantly, keep them accountable to the work that they're supposed to be doing. So technology is exorbitantly helpful.
How do you foster a sense of community and support?
What I do on a regular basis is I talk to people about their life inside and outside the gym. And so obviously, again, it's important to know what's going on in somebody's home life to get the most of them when they're here in the gym. We also obviously do community events. We go for runs, we do mobility sessions, we go for hikes, we do stuff like hell and back. So what we try and do is try and have as much happening outside the gym as possible, so that way people know, like, and trust each other, and that way obviously they're going to have the crack in the class, they're going to want to come, and they're going to want to keep showing up, because obviously when people have friends somewhere, they're just going to want to engage in that program a little bit more, and it's going to keep them longer.
You're in a group training versus personal training.
The energy when you're training in a group is next level. It really is something really, really cool. When you get the right group of people training together, you can really, really tell, there's an atmosphere. everybody's pushing off the other people. There's a little bit of competition. If the personality types kind of clash in the right way, obviously, and then you also get an amazing amount of support happening from person to person. So, you know, if generally it's a bunch of ladies in the morning and they're all intermediate, you know, they're going to help on the newbies and they're going to support each other and cheer for each other. And generally, if you get the lads, you know, they're shouting at each other, they're screaming at each other, and that's just not comparable to people training slow by themselves, which again is fantastic if you like that kind of training. But the intensity and the amount that you can push is very similar to team training. You know, you might see in football clubs and GAA clubs, and obviously that sense of camaraderie and community is really, really cool as people get to know each other and kind of grow together.
What do you want clients to take away from their experience of working with you?
I want people to understand that there is no finish line with this thing, that fitness is just a reflection of you. And so that's why this kind of industry is really taken off, I feel, is because this is just an opportunity for you to test your mettle and see what you're made of. If you can't follow your nutrition, there's a good chance that you're kind of falling down in other areas in life. And if you can start building up that bit of self-esteem and start getting those habits on track and start building the momentum and starting to build that self-confidence in yourself, that's going to show across many different areas of your life. And so one thing I really want people to understand is that as I said before, you have to challenge yourself really regularly. You have to become a student of whatever it is that you want to get good at, and you have to start slow and learn the basics. And if you could do that, you can learn it in fitness and take it anywhere. But this is your physical body. This is your health at the end of the day. And so I really love this industry because it's all about making yourself the best version of yourself for anything else that you want to take that on to. And obviously then you can look better, feel better, have more energy, and know that you've done the work. And it really is one of the best industries I feel at the minute to be a part of. And I'm really, really lucky to get to be a part of this community that we're in, Fighting Fit.